up to.
Cool.
And we're live. We got some hot mics right now. Let's just wait for everyone to kind of tune in, wherever they're tuning in from, and say hello. We have a couple people tuning. Well, first off, I want to say good morning, everyone. How about that? Let's start off the proper way.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, and everyone. Those that don't know out there, this handsome devil over here to my right. This is. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Adam Oxsen. That's me.
VP of ROX Exploration, which is such a cool name, ROX. Anyway,
have I told you the story on the name?
well, no, save that.
Hold
Save
it.
that.
Hold
Save
it.
that. We got to tease the audience a little bit. So we are live streaming this obviously, from Oklahoma City at kitchen number 324. Right?
Got it.
Is that it?
Got
so
it.
I walked in at like 9:30, 9:45 to kind of find out what's going on, and there was already like an empty martini glass at the bar area. I was like, that's commitment right there. All right, so let's see where everyone's tuning in from right now. We got Ethan. I love me some Ethan. Ethan is tuning in from Denver right now. Ethan is a great buddy of mine, CEO of Royal Completion Tools, and they're the ones actually sponsoring this. And we're going to play a little commercial in a little bit for that. But Ethan, love you, amigo. Hope all's well in Denver and you're staying warmer than we are here because it's freezing right now.
And windy.
And windy. All right. Well, good morning to you, too. Hope all's well with you. We'll be kicking off your work. Let's see. Good morning from IH. Good morning, Justin. How are you? Tyler. Morning, JP Warren. Tune in while filling out spreadsheets. So if this is the background noise for filling out spreadsheets, then that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. It's probably
you need some entertainment.
You're gonna be in the robotic mode a little bit, but you get some great knowledge from this guy. All right, let's see what else. Brandon Webb. Good morning from Farrier Drive. I have no idea where that is. I don't know either. It's probably where your home's at. Don't give away your home on not on the internet. Not on the internet. You don't want that. All right, we have Cody. Good morning from Oklahoma. No kidding, man. That was a good time last night, right?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I'm glad you made it, Cody, man. It was definitely good kind of getting to know you more and hanging out a little bit more, man. I dig it. Thanks for tuning in this morning. All right. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Zach. It's probably a little bit warmer from where you're at in Dallas. Janelle, good buenos dias from Houston. Oh, it's raining in Houston. Okay, well, it's a little cloudy here. It's freezing.
We had a little bit of rain. I saw some snow flurries a minute ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So this is the gentleman that we're going to be having lunch with here in a little bit. If you stick around, it's up to you. Yeah. It's up to you. Anyway, so good morning. Good morning. Make sure you dress warm, James, and bundle up. All right. So I'm sure if you want to tune in, say hello wherever you're tuning in from. That's more than okay. We're up here in Oklahoma City. We had a little crew club event last night at the Petroleum Club of Oklahoma. I want to thank our sponsors. It was Arion. It was Tag Motors. It was good seeing Corey Nunez and Matt Little a little bit, and then Scott Witt with American Cementing. Packed room. About 14 people. Again, operator heavy. But the whole goal of it was kind of increase relationships in our industry. And what's your outlook on it? That was your first one you attended, right?
Yeah, that was my first. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Like I was telling you, connected with some guys that, we're a small family operator, like I was saying, and then
right.
Got some guys from Chesapeake, some guys over at Chesapeake, but then, even though the scale of your company might be
different,
respective companies act quite different, just the personal connection and then the overlaps you end up finding out you have with personal relationships or friends or, oh, you're working in this sector of operations and, we're doing this. It's cool to get peek into other people's experience.
It's kind of cool because it's just kind of those conversations to me kind of come up organically when you're sitting across someone breaking bread. You know what I mean? What are you dealing with here? How do you deal with this? So it's awesome. We have Austin saying awesome group of guys. Thanks, Austin, man. Hope all's well with you, amigo. And then again, everyone, thanks for tuning in. I love doing these breakfast runs. So actually, I got a couple things to say real quick before we got to get it kicked off in this. So we just started kind of a breakfast run show for oilfield service companies, for startups, for tech companies that I had Brian Smith on with QI2 Elements, and it was called Coffee and Beans. What we do, we pretty much have coffee and we play a game called, I don't know if anyone out there remembers a game called Bamboozled. Jelly beans, you know what that is? Yeah, you pretty much have green will be lime and or fresh cut grass. Orange would be orange or vomit. Anyway, so throughout the conversations, we're kind of just popping it. So it's educating and entertaining. If you're an oilfield service tech company or startup and you want to kind of have a platform to kind of communicate who you are, what your service is, what your product is, reach out to me at jp@connectioncrew.com, and let's talk about it. So it was pretty fun. I don't know if you watched, but I made a little video clip, and you can find it on my Instagram, energy_crew. It was like a 2-minute video clip with the highlights of us tasting the jelly beans.
It's like a sizzle reel of like your reactions.
Yes, yeah, the reactions.
Did you get a vomit?
I did. It was honestly like I'm not gonna lie to you, like it was my daughter's idea. All right, and I probably should have thought about it more. Like I probably shouldn't partake in it. I should probably just let the other person. But it's like I'm committed now. I got to do it.
You're all in.
And it's so bad because it sticks on your teeth.
Oh,
it's horrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. It doesn't go away.
It's like a real experience with vomit.
Andrew, my man. You know Andrew Richard?
Sounds familiar.
So he just presented the Energy Tech Night, Digital Wildcatters Energy Tech Night last night. That was last night. And I know that Tad won the belt, but I'm pretty sure that your presentation was awesome too, man. It was definitely good tagging up with you when you were in Houston. Okay, hello, it's time for breakfast. KC here from OES Testing Facility in Willis, Texas. That's what I'm talking about, buddy. Highlights and lowlights. That was great, roll, dude. It was so bad. We have my buddy Jonathan Rhodes checking on Tiki Island, USA for some interesting combo. That's all we got today. That's all we have this morning is interesting combo. But we got to. I want to thank the sponsors, Royal Completion Tools. Please hook up with Ethan and the team over there and check them out. Awesome group of people over there. Plugs that don't slip. Who would have thunk? All right, so let's get this commercial going, and then let's get our conversation.
Sounds good, man.
All right. 3, 2, and.
To all you completion engineers, company men, and consultants out there, are you sick and tired of losing sleep over frac plugs not getting to depth, not holding pressure, or not drilling out properly? Or maybe you aren't getting the best quality and service from the bigs? Well, stop burning the midnight oil and rest at ease while using Royal Frac Plugs, the most reliable and efficient frac plug on the market. Start your successful completions today by getting in touch with Royal Completion Tools. You can contact them via www.royalcompletiontools.com, sales@royalcts.com, or via LinkedIn. Contact them today to check out some of the best frac plugs out there.
Every time. So that I have to say that was a CGI thumb in the last shot that I had both thumbs. CGI.
You've got a visual.
We bring the budget up. All right, so I'm gonna start this off. Okay, I'm gonna start this off on how you and I met 3 weeks ago.
I don't know.
I think it was like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I was going to Midland, and you were going.
I think you were coming up here.
Was I going to Oklahoma?
You were coming up here for the first one of the
clubs. Okay. All right. So there I am. It's probably about 7 a.m. I'm at the airport. I think I'm like turning into my dad because I'm getting to the airport like 5 hours early now. My flight's at like 9 a.m. I'm getting there like at 4 a.m. But anyway, I'm just kind of sitting there and I'm writing something, at Pete's Coffee. And suddenly this handsome gentleman comes up to me and he's like, "Are you JP?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Like, why are you accosting me?
You're in my space. You're in my space. You're my
safe
bubble.
Yeah.
You're my bubble. So anyway, so he just kind of introduced himself and he's like, "Hey man, I've been seeing your stuff and all this stuff. But anyway, I'm about to go. I got this going on. And I mean, honestly, if this was a LinkedIn post, I'd probably say that's the power of kind of getting out there and putting yourself out there on social media. Because it's weird. It's like, since the pandemic and all that stuff, my circle, my group and all that stuff has just expanded. And I have a lot of sounds weird, I have a lot of internet friends. Whenever you ever meet up with them in person, I mean, that foundation's already there.
Right.
And that connection's there. So we were
talking about that last night. Right?
Yeah, you approached me. And then I saw you getting an ape. And then last night we had the crew club thing.
Yeah.
So what were we talking about last night?
Well, going back to how we first met, I mean, like you said, it's like, who's this dude with the man bun over there?
Oh yeah.
And the blazer. It's like, there's, like you said, that visual connection. Like, I already know this guy. I already know there's already a rapport, even though we didn't have a rapport.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think that is really cool. And that even happened some last night, like at the crew club, some conversations where guys are like, "Hey, I like some of the content you've been putting out."
Dude, you've been
great.
So you've been putting. I mean, we can go to this now a little bit, and we can kind of get into ROX Exploration and all that fun stuff. But I mean, so you've kind of I don't know what it is, but since we connected and all that stuff, I've seen your stuff come up a lot, and it's very. It's I guess a refreshing reality. So right now we're kind of in this zone, this world where reality and expectations about energy are just not aligned at all.
Right.
At
all. I think that's a very good way to say it.
Yeah. And I think when reality meets that expectation, then we can start actually having real conversations about energy. You know, whether it's fossil, renewable, a mix, whatever. I'm a Prius. I think we need all of it. You know what I mean? Especially with demands and all that stuff. But there's not a lot of people. There's a few people out there that are advocates of the oil and gas industry and kind of advocates of energy. You know, and having real conversations. And you've started kind of putting yourself out there a little bit more, kind of making these statements, these factual, bold, not even bold, just real statements that no one. You know, that's
I'm trying to like I was telling you, I'm trying to look at some of the people I follow in different industries and the way they communicate clearly and succinctly. I'm trying to do that, but also from like our perspective as a family operator, a small family operator. So, and trying to find that balance. Because you're right, like energy infrastructure is such a complex, huge, crazy amalgamation of all these different, players and assets and midstream and power lines and all of that can get really into the weeds and really tough. But if there's a way to like communicate some of those ideas like simply, so that the goal I'm trying to get as like someone who's not in the industry or even a certain, I mean, we get like, we're an operator, right? So we don't see maybe like what a midstream guy's going to see, or even further downstream, like, or a service company, their perspective. So trying to offer our perspective in a succinct, clear way that adds value, or someone goes, I never thought of it from that perspective.
From that way,
and not getting into the weeds so much, like providing like the general overview, the general truth, and then someone goes, and if they want to go dig into that, they can, or we can end up in a conversation like this, you know, where they go, I see the posts or the tweets or whatever, and then go, I'm going to go jump on one of the podcasts and find out a little bit more about these ideas.
And honestly, I think right now, kind of in the world we're at right now, obviously, the fact that energy has taken a political, everything's political. You know what I mean? There's so much emotion. When I say political, let's just call it what it is, emotional. Okay, people are very emotional about certain topics and all that stuff, and that's kind of I'm going to get into kind of what the new stuff you're doing with the podcast and stuff, but like that's kind of the whole goal of this. The whole goal is, I mean, if someone's like tuning by and all that stuff, and let's say they're typing in Motley Crue to YouTube and they pop this up and they're like, what's this guy and all that stuff, and it's like, I'm not Motley Crue, but at the same time I'm trying to show some, I guess, the humanity of our industry, that we are that we're not sitting, these ivory towers, suits and tie. Well, don't worry about that. But but you know what I mean, though. So I'm trying to. The goal of this, honestly, is not just to get to know the person, connect the industry, but it's also hopefully to have some spillover.
Yeah. Get some glimpse. I mean, there's like, I think other industries have done it really well, and I think there's some podcasts and just live streaming like this are great ways to do that. I mean, Silicon Valley guys have done a great job of just, doing business podcasts, doing all kinds of stuff, and just getting.
But what's funny? What's funny is this is like, I feel like in the past like 18 months in our industry, it's a new industry, man. You have like Bitcoin, you got, now people are talking about NFT. Justin Gochain's talking about NFT. He's doing his own NFTs. You know what I mean? All the AI, the technology that's coming in is kind of a new vibe, a new energy, kind of a new industry. So the fact that we are doing this, it's like we should have been doing this.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because I think you kind of see it with Bitcoin in particular. Like, I remember having conversations, 3 or 4 years ago with guys like, "Hey, you buying Bitcoin? Or you stacking sats? Or you?" And then like, fast forward to now, it's like some of those people, it's like, they've actually built out infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like,
they're not just talking about it, they're doing.
Yeah, and not even just investing or buying on a personal level, but actually building businesses around it. And that's really cool. And I mean, we can talk more about the Bitcoin stuff, but the industry as a whole, like, I think the content creators that are out there,
so who's some
providing a lot of value.
I think so too, man. I mean, it's the stuff you're seeing, whether it's there's a lot of content being created out there, and I'm digging that.
Yeah.
I think people, and the thing is, though, people try to cover this huge, like, oh, I'm gonna cover all energy. I honestly think that if you start servicing that huge, just find a niche, find a niche and talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what I talk about is bullshit. I'm good at that. That's my niche. I'm good at bullshit. So that's kind of what I do. So,
right.
But I mean, it is. I mean, the conversations last night that you were having with another gentleman at the table about Bitcoin and kind of getting involved in Bitcoin, what you're doing about that. It's just like the conversations at the table are not talking about rotary steerable anymore. It's gone down different other paths.
Right. Yeah. No. Totally. And what's cool is like that conversation where I was telling you, like we're setting up our first mine and getting towards mining Bitcoin, and I feel a little bit late, even though, I mean, we've been, like I said, holding Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin for years personally, and even in the business, but there's other guys who've been mining since 17, on their oil and gas locations. And then even before that, right? But it's still so early, like you were saying, not everyone, you were talking to your friend David on one of these, and he was saying, even though you feel like everyone's talking about this, there's still a lot of people who don't see what's going on.
So the conversation we had, I actually had David Little on my podcast, and it was kind of an intro to Bitcoin. Like, I heard about it, I've seen it, I've talked. Like, I'm not comfortable talking about it. So I had a lot of stupid questions, and that's one of the things he said. He said, hey, look, I know that Bitcoin's out there, everyone's talking about it, everyone's doing this and all that stuff. You might feel like you're late in the game right now, but you're really kind of a first mover in the game right now.
You're still early. Like, one guy I love to follow, Dan Held.
Dan Held, okay.
Yeah, you need to check him out. I think he's had multiple exits in the crypto space.
Okay.
Like, I think they started one of the first wallets.
Okay.
And he's at Kraken now, but I think one of his exits was to Kraken. So,
okay.
But he's super interesting guy in the Bitcoin space, and but just looking at that, he points out all the time, it's still so early. You've got a lot of people buying in at the personal level, but we're still in this phase of Bitcoin is. Well, what BlackRock's starting to allow some of their funds?
I saw that.
So you still don't have the institutional level pension funds, states. We were at a meetup, and apparently there's a good number of Oklahoma State representatives who are we need to hold this
really
in the state treasury, but what's the legal how do we make this happen?
Still kind of unknown.
What does the state need to do legally? What kind of laws or regulations or any of that? So in that sense, everyone's still really early. I mean, you've got El Salvador holding it on their balance sheet. There's talks of other countries doing it, but once that starts happening, well, that's when you're moving in that other phase of there's only 19 million Bitcoins out right now, and another million and a half to go.
That's it. But it's going to take a lot longer.
It's going to take a lot longer. Yeah. There's estimates. I think it's 150 years. But then that network's still got to be maintained.
Yep.
And I think that's what's so cool about Bitcoin is the decentralization, the fact that an oil and gas operator can stand up a mining unit on a location, or somebody in Texas can build a little mining hub right next to a substation, and that's part of the network. And you've got them in Russia, and China, and Afghanistan, and Canada,
and it also helps your ESG initiatives too, because you're not flaring.
Yeah, I mean, there's that side of it for sure.
Yeah, I always got through that. So I feel like it was 2022. You got to talk about ESG and Bitcoin.
ESG is a really interesting. I'm not a fan, but it's kind of become a stranglehold of capital.
Yes.
And I mean, this is different for us. We're a small operator. We work with individuals and small business owners and doctors and doing direct investments in our oil and gas wells.
But we
never worked with private equity money or institutional money. And that's where I think the thing that's crazy is the ESG is kind of I just saw the other day, one of the New York pension funds, $240 million that had previously been dedicated to oil and gas, gone. No longer
And then we're going to complain about prices too.
And then we're going to complain about prices.
Yes.
So I think the interesting thing I think there's a decentralization. Like you're seeing all these major oil companies like are going to consolidate, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like they're going to consolidate, and then a lot of maybe those stressed assets or the assets that are just too small for them to care are going to end up decentralizing to smaller players like us.
Okay.
Or private equity companies. But even the private equity world, if they can't raise money from these large funds because of ESG concerns, how is the oil and gas, the E&Ps, the small family companies, the independents, the larger, how are they going to access capital to keep bringing on new production to meet the ever-growing worldwide demand of energy? Like the mix is roughly 85%.
Yes.
And that's only going up.
Oh no, it is, yeah.
Like in total volumes, right? Like
I'm talking about Jonathan Rhodes. I went to an awesome it was a TCU alumni breakfast last Friday, and the president of Pickett Energy Partners is there, and he's like, "Look, if we want to go carbon neutral by 2050, this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to increase battery storage by 15,000%. We're going to have to Oh, and also we're going to have to stop drilling for oil and gas this year."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's not possible.
It's not possible. So going back to that, the ESG aspect and restricting capital coming in the market, to me, that's that gap between reality and reality and expectations. Yeah. That's that gap right there. You have these expectations on energy and all that stuff. So people pulling back their capital or not allowing their the institutional investors, whatever, to invest. But yet,
I think there's multifacets to it. I think there's like the political reasons, but I think there's also, this is Adam and his tinfoil hat.
Let's get there, Adam.
Let's get there. I mean, I think there's like these assets aren't going to go away for like the very reason you said, like expectations and reality.
Yes.
So if you've got all these, if you have less capital going to maintaining, creating new assets, and companies are having to go through bankruptcy or mergers or sell those, like somebody's going to end up owning those.
Yeah.
And to own those, you're going to have the pull and the capital to go and buy those things. So
Go on. So who is that?
No, I don't know who it is, and I'm not. That's just me.
That's a good point.
That's just me thinking out loud. Like the assets that are real world, have real value, that produce energy, that those are not just going to go away. Somebody's going to own those.
Right.
Whether it's like I said, whether these companies are going to consolidate and then it's going to decentralize into small family firms, like a lot more. I mean, I think there's an argument for that. But then on that side, it's like, well, how do small firms like us get the word out there and let people know, hey, this is an existential need.
Yes.
But also, how do you get involved? How do you educate yourself? How do you, to the point where you can be like, okay, I'm ready to take the leap of directly investing in energy production.
And that's kind of what companies like you, Energy Funders is doing and all that stuff. They're kind of bypassing the old tradition. And I guess I want to let's talk about, we're here to talk about you, obviously, and kind of your thoughts. Let's talk about that. I mean, you're at a company called ROX Exploration. It's a family company. Yeah. ROX.
So I got to tell you that since you're saying, so my dad's name is Russell Oxsen.
Okay.
Adam Oxsen. He's a geologist. Geologists study rocks.
And he's a dad.
And he's a dad.
Dad joke.
He actually pulled the name out of his,
fanny pack.
Fanny pack.
Really?
No. But the cool thing is
with his zinc on.
With his, so ROX, it's his initials, and so ROX Exploration started in '89. And cool thing is, our logo still to this day, Russ, on his drafting table with his drawing, he drafted the logo, and that's still our logo.
I love that.
To this day. So it's rad, and it's got a vintage feel, but I feel like there's a modern feel to it too. And it's a wellhead. Vintage is
modern these days. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So your dad started in 1989, and kind of obviously give us kind of a quick thing. I kind of want to talk about kind of what's going on in y'all's world today.
Yeah. So he lost his job in the bust in the 80s.
Oh, in Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma.
Okay.
He worked for some different Cox brothers, like Barry Allen or something Cox, and so they would, anyways, cut his teeth there.
Yep.
Worked for some other small operators, working up deals, mapping all of Oklahoma, and he had an agreement with his, as I understand it, I'm telling it too long. He's selling deals on his own to operators, and he's like, these operators keep screwing up the deals. He's like, I told them to put the location here, and they needed to hit the zone here, and they didn't do it. They moved it over, whatever.
So if you're not following the recipe and you're adding your own ingredients and all that stuff, and you bitch about the original recipe,
he's like, I can do
can't
this.
do that.
He's like, I can do this better myself.
Okay.
And he started operating. And then luckily, like I said, just working up his own deals and working with small business owners. And I think I'll hold that thought. So just basically grew the business through the drill bit. Like still to this day, like we don't really do acquisitions and divestitures on our wells. We drill them and we operate them for the long term.
Which is kind of
that's how we make our money.
Is kind of a new concept in our industry. You know what I mean?
Well, so that's the interesting what I'm going to say. It's like historically, like him doing that, that's like what all the small operators did was sell working interests.
Okay.
And you had this older generation that worked either in the oil and gas industry or in manufacturing or just grown up around oil and gas. And so they were comfortable with investing, and they understood the tax implications and write-offs and the benefits there, and how to, if you approach it like dollar cost averaging, or like each well is a stock you're putting in your portfolio. Well, the average wells, you've got those, and then the dry holes offset the barn burners, and you end up, getting a good return over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You've got a really great portfolio of wells. So that kind of existed in the 80s and 90s. And then I think you kind of see this like move towards like private equity, right?
Yeah.
And these big, like,
that was the punch and flip model.
Yeah, we're going to get these big acreage positions. We're going to put 2 wells on it,
and then
we're
sell
gonna flip
it. Yeah.
And you were able to do this with the big, triple-digit barrels of oil. And then that's kind of fallen apart. And now it's been like, okay, we've got to actually set up companies that drill and
operate like a business.
Cash flow and
that operate like a business.
Yeah, they operate like a business. And then all the ESG stuff going on. It's like, what's going on here in our industry? How do we keep this going? So I think that's where.
Well, how's that been for y'all? So I mean, it sounds to me like it's not just kind of your previous the wells you drilled or the opera, but let's talk about like kind of like it sounds to me so it's a family company. So the investors are pretty much family friends, and they're
small business
people that you've known throughout the years that you've kind of talked to. So
real estate guys. Once you get into understanding like the tax incentives on which I'm not a CPA.
I'm not either. Don't take
any tax advice.
And if you are taking tax advice from us, then you need something. Let's talk. Something's wrong. Something's going on.
But there's a lot of benefits on the investing side.
Yes.
As well as the potential returns. And the great thing is, that was the whole thing with the shale plays is you're never going to get a dry hole, right?
Right.
That is a nice thing. Well, we did our first lateral well in 2017. We've never drilled a shale well. We drill conventional reservoirs with unconventional technology. We're drilling laterally through conventional reservoirs. So that was an Oswego well, and now we're drilling hunting wells.
Do those conversations? I'm sorry, go on.
No, so that was just like it's just a different, that's not, especially when we like this deal we're doing now, our drilling deals. That's not what, no one's used to that. It's not been flashy. It's not been in the news. It's very different. And again, just the way we're a small operator.
Right.
And like we said, like name recognition and expertise, and people think of a really, great operating oil and gas company as a Devon or they're going to, or EOG or some name that you see in the news.
Yeah.
Not this little family company that's.
Man, I dig family companies.
No, I do too, but that's the challenge on our side of like, but I think the opportunities now with content creation and stuff like this is to be like, hey, we're out here. And I think, and kind of what I think we're doubling down on is the idea that, like I said, this decentralization is going to have to happen on funding and creating more oil and gas reserves. That's going to have to be done by operators like us getting out and talking and saying, educating people and saying, hey, this is a legitimate, real way. Not to say there's not, you got to watch out and make sure you're dealing with good operators, and good people, and you've got good business relationships, but letting people know like this exists, not only for us, but for the industry in general, the education side and hey, people need to know that there's opportunity here to do great good in producing, like I said, more reserves, but also for yourself personally, like financially.
Right.
There's opportunities.
So you're seeing historically, when prices skyrocket, the way they are right now, you always see everyone falling over, picking up rigs, whether the bigger boys, the bigger players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You're not seeing that right now. You're seeing a lot of the independents. You're seeing a lot of family companies do that because they're constrained.
It's still hard. Yeah, and it's hard to get. I mean, we were talking last night about how hard it is to get a rig right now.
Yeah.
Hold on to it.
What's the people, it's the rig and all that stuff. So are you finding, Monica's tuning in right now, my beautiful wife, my partner, no crime, because we're good. That's a good question. We'll get a little bit better. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Hey, this is my DJ booth, all right? So are you finding the conversations that you're having with, because obviously I'm feeling like the relationships you have with the investors, with the people that are supplying capital and stuff, I feel like there's a relationship there. Because it's a family thing. Like, who you're sitting down with, their family, like, and all that stuff. Has the conversations changed at all over the past 18 months with all this, whether it's ESG, whether it's the new administration, whether it's this? Has there been, or is it just because they know you, they trust you, and the relationship's there, they're kind of blocking away that noise?
I think, I think the conversations you have, someone who's coming and investing in oil and gas has educated themselves. They understand the risk-reward ratio.
Right.
They also understand that a lot of those, like that conference I was heading down to, which the Pickering guys were talking at on the ESG stuff, like that, the ESG stuff, like I was saying, doesn't affect us yet. So there's some of these top-level concerns that doesn't affect like a small operator like us. It's more of an industry trend, right? So, the conversations. No, they really get down to like, how well is this deal? How good is it doing?
Oh, so it's like let's keep business as usual.
Yeah, well, and the opportunity. I mean, I think everyone knew, like, especially like we put on this project we're doing now. We picked up our first rig into 2020.
Oh, okay.
There were 9 rigs running in Oklahoma, and we brought one on. And Dad likes to be like, we increased the rig count in Oklahoma by 10%.
He did.
Yeah, but everyone's looking at this going, oil and gas is massively undervalued, and especially at that time, bargain prices. No one's doing anything.
Yeah,
everybody's hungry for work. So, no, the conversations with investors are literally like, okay, what's this well going to cost? And then when you bring it on, are we under AFE? Are we at AFE? Are we under it? And what's it doing? I mean, we're bringing on, when we drill and complete a well, and we're bringing the well on and producing, right away. And we've already got.
I kind of dig that.
Everything
it sounds like they're more business partners than anything.
Yeah. I mean, we're not partners. You're a working interest investor.
Yes.
But yeah, you are, and you have conversations. And everyone's up to date on emails, and we send out daily production reports, so everyone knows exactly what's going on. And so the conversations are around like, how much are we producing? Did we get the whole frac away? Which we have. All of that. Again, just looking at the economics of it and how it's performing.
Right.
And then just watching that. How quickly is it dropping off? Is it leveling out? Like, those are the conversations that we're having. The big level stuff, like we're talking about, like ESG and that stuff, if you're hanging out, like we're doing, like you roll it over. But like,
ESG needs like paper straws. Remember the paper straw movement? Yeah. Paper straws never hold up. That's kind of my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's important, but anyway.
So you have those conversations, but then those are generalities or movements going on or facts that you can't control. You can talk about. What you can control is like the project you're working on, the well you're drilling, and the results. So those are we'll have the high level, interesting conversation, but a lot of it's like, what's the well doing? What's going on there?
Yeah. So, we got old Keith saying hello from Odessa. Morning, Keith. Old Park Hole. What's up, JP? Tuned from Midland. Going out to Midland next Tuesday. I'm digging it. All right. So Monica asks, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Adam, is it safe to say that your dad is your hero? And if you weren't in oil and gas, what would you be doing?
First question first. I have a lot of respect for Dad. I mean, like, starting the business, like, I had no idea, like, when that was going on when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I would have been, 6 when he started.
And you have no idea, like, the world of that.
He was buying leases on credit cards. Like, he'd have, like,
oh my God.
He'd have, like, $50,000, $60,000 in leases on credit cards. Yeah. Put a deal together, sell it, and get his acreage money back, and then pay off the credit cards, and then go drill the well. So he's and he always coached the baseball teams.
Okay.
All of that. So mad respect on just like work-life balance. Like we'd go to bed and he'd stay up like middle of the night, like doing accounting, like till 3 a.m, like running his own accounting. Like,
that's the grind.
Yeah, it's just the grind, and so the work ethic and that work-life balance. Have a lot of respect for him.
So if it wasn't oil and gas, what would it be?
I don't know. Maybe I'd become an influencer like you.
Yeah. I hate that word, man.
I don't know. That's one of those things, when there's so much interesting things in the world. Like, I love reading history.
It's snowing.
It is snowing.
That was like a squirrel moment. Squirrel, but I used to say DJ, but I think I'd want to do give a stand-up, like a stand-up comedian.
Give that a whirl?
Yeah, I think that's just like, that would be the level of being uncomfortable, like on the next level.
Yeah.
We're talking about being uncomfortable on the next level. Let's talk about this, Adam. You recently started a podcast.
We've got them recorded. We haven't released it yet.
Ooh, okay. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
We got to bring that up right now. Let's, the snow. I love Oklahoma, man.
It's coming down.
It's coming down.
Kids are going to be excited at home.
Thank you for keeping us warm, Willing. Anyway, so let's talk about this. So let's talk about getting out of your comfort zone and kind of starting a new project. Kind of, in reality, I mean, this is kind of putting yourself out there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's you're putting yourself out there. It's pretty uncomfortable. I mean, I'm still not comfortable doing
You're speaking from experience. Like,
absolutely.
We were talking about that last night, right?
So tell me kind of what kind of spurred this, and kind of what's your goals, and kind of how can people kind of, once you start kind of releasing, how can people kind of line up and kind of absorb the knowledge?
It's going to be called ROX Energy, ROX Energy. And like I said, we've got some episodes recorded. We're trying to get some in the queue before we start dropping them. We've got some of our great vendor relationships that are probably going to be helping us kind of like initially sponsor it and get it off the ground.
I dig it.
Working on some of that. But it's really just to have conversations like this with other operators, other small bit, maybe some of the small business owners, service companies that we've become really good friends with and have relationships with. And so trying to bring like an operator's perspective, and again, like ours as a small family firm, trying to bring that perspective and just have conversations, like you said, just to give people a glimpse into like what it's like to be a small business drilling oil and gas wells.
I like that, man. I mean, look, the podcast I have, Energy Crew, I mean, the whole goal of that literally is to get to know the person behind the position. Oftentimes, if you're on LinkedIn, I see, Adam, VP at ROX, like, man, I wonder what he's probably this way. Like, there's these stereotypes.
Dude, our business organization is so flat, but it's like, you have to have like these, like we flipped through titles and different stuff. And like, we do everything. Like all of us, we do everything. But like that same thing, like when you're working like with these different scales of companies, there's these expectations of like, oh, well, you got to have this title. And I loved Elon Musk like a month ago. Did you see what he changed his like title to?
What was it?
It's like It's like Galactic Viceroy or something
Okay,
like that.
all right.
No, that's Chuck Yates. He's like companies are a company and title. He's like, it's all a construct. It's all fake. CEO is not a real thing. It was like at a CEO conference. He's like, CEO is not a real thing. He's like, it's not.
He's just breaking down the simulation.
He's like, if you have a company, you need. He's like, you need a secretary and a president for a corporation. He's like, CEO, you don't need that. It's not a real thing. He's saying it to like a room with
all
CEO.
these CEOs are like, oh yeah.
But his point, to his point, like you have to have that, right? Especially at scale, to know who to talk to. And so for our company, it's like, well, just talk to any of us. We'll get you on the phone with the right person.
Yeah, what do you need?
What do you need? Like, we're all in this. But that's different when you're a company that's got hundreds of people working for you. You have to have those titles,
different levels and all that stuff.
Right? Differentiate on what you deal with.
So what are you looking forward to, kind of personally or professionally, kind of in your near future, 6-8 months or something down the road and all that stuff? What's kind of because it's exciting times right now in our industry. Yeah. It's exciting, but it's also challenging too. I mean, you got the personnel issues, you got the casing issues, you got this issue, you got that issue. But it's also an exciting time right now. So what do you have? Do you have events coming up? You have projects coming up? You have stuff you're looking into more, you're learning about more. That's kind of exciting you, kind of keeping you motivated.
Yeah, I mean the podcast is definitely a part of that. And then like we talked about, trying to be consistent on LinkedIn and Twitter, and learning from the people like in these different industries that I look up to that are doing that, and being like,
who do you look up to in other industries? That's a great question, JP. Thank you, Adam. Go on.
Great question. I mentioned Dan Held. He's a great follow. Big fan of the My First Million guys. It's like a very clickbaity podcast.
Okay.
And this is their wording. I actually think it's great marketing. Sam Parr ran The Hustle, which was like a daily Silicon Valley tech email. I got that for years. And they sold that to HubSpot.
Okay.
And then his co-host on that is Sean Puri, and Sean had a startup, like some kind of streaming, that sold to Twitch. So those guys both exited their companies at the same time. So they did the podcast. They started it we're both gonna make some money from selling our businesses, and we need something to do. So all they do is break down businesses. That's their idea. They're like, hey, look at this. I figured out how this works, and they just riff on business ideas.
Okay.
And then they'll talk to their friends who run SaaS companies or run e-commerce businesses or real estate. Or I think I was telling someone last night, they broke down FarmCon.
FarmCon?
FarmCon. So this guy has this daily newsletter that's all just trading, from a farmer's perspective.
Okay.
And I guess this guy who runs it was had a trading desk in New York for years, and then anyways, I'm getting into the nerdiness of it, but they'll break it down. They're so we're figuring out, he does this email each day and he's charging this much, whatever the subscription is, $100, and he's got this many readers. He's doing $20 million a year off his email newsletter.
God.
So that's what they do, is they break these things down, and and then they've got this other part of the business where they do this and they do this, and they
so they just kind of
they just riff on these
search
ideas.
They open it up. They dissect businesses. Okay.
And then they'll have some of their friends that have these tech companies or SaaS companies or whatever, and some of those guys are all their numbers are available.
So
online,
you
and they'll talk about that.
Understanding how things work, the mechanisms, how things work, and kind of diving in, kind of taking stuff apart as a kid. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I can't oversell the value of Legos.
Okay.
For a kid, I tell my wife, there's no limit on Legos for the kids. I think that's a great way, taking things apart and figuring out how to put them together, or take pieces from one area and another and put those together.
Build something, yeah. We got Evelyn on. She has a new Sonic Lego kid. She gets into it. I never was a really Lego kid and all that stuff, but she gets really into it. She's pretty creative when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. So I love that one. How I Built This is a great podcast. Naval is fantastic. NAVAL.
What are you cautious about? I don't even know where this question's going on stuff. And then I think after this, we're coming up on about 50 minutes and all that stuff. We can probably open up some questions out there to the audience right now. But what would you urge caution to, I guess, whether it's operators or vendors on your, not that oil field services, in your perceptions? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? When activity's picking up, when this is picking up, what are you kind of hesitant or urging caution that you kind of see that might be a pain point moving forward? Does that make sense?
No, maybe a little bit.
So, like, for example, like one caution thing would be, let's say it's like low bid. Then you're not paying your employees, and your employees leave, and all that stuff. The next thing you know, you're increasing you don't have a team that's been working together, so it's more risk and all that stuff. So, I guess going into this ramp up in activity, I don't know, what would you caution? It could be operators overspending for acreage because what prices are right now, or something like that. Right?
Yeah. Well, I hate to give unsolicited advice.
Hey, it's just you and me talking. No one else is listening. No one else is listening.
I think, for me, a general piece of advice that would carry over to vendors, operators, people reaching out to you online is like, do your research. Like if you're reaching out to someone, okay, so we have a pizzeria in Norman also, me and my wife.
What's the pizzeria name?
Tavola. But I get reached out all the time by people who are like, these guys are like, hey, you want to own a franchise? I'm like,
just look at my LinkedIn banner, right?
Right. I'm like, I own a concept. Like, so, like that kind of idea, like just know who, if you've got a service and a product and you want to sell that, like make sure you're going to the right person to sell it to and having the right conversation. Like, don't try and sell a stick pipe when we need coil tubing. Like,
right.
that kind of idea.
Yeah, I have people reaching out asking me where I get if I need crane assistance for a connection crew. I'm like,
connections.
What are you talking about? No, I don't. It's okay. So I like that. Do a little research.
Yeah.
I like that.
And I think that's true also. So you can then apply that to anything, whether that's the headlines you're reading or the LinkedIn articles or the posts this weirdo's making. Like, I had a guy get really upset, like I had a post about EVs and being bullish on gas.
Yep.
He's like, why are you hating on EVs? I'm like, I don't necessarily hate EVs. I'm actually a big fan of Tesla. But that's not my point. Like, EVs have nothing. The fact is, like, we're using more gas in the production of EVs, and the production side of it, and the like daily operation of it, like all the way from the mining of the battery metals all the way down
to producing it, to getting it out,
to putting it in the garage. Like,
there was I went to this one lunch, and this guy who said the carbon footprint of a Tesla with 0 miles parked in your driveway has a bigger footprint than Ford F-150 with 150,000 miles.
And honestly, I don't even think that's showing my hand here. I don't think that's a big deal. Like, everything that is created in this city has some kind of footprint.
I agree.
Like, that's the beauty of like what people do is they take raw materials and turn them into like this Carrara marble wall over here.
Beautiful.
Like, that's a piece of a mountain that somebody cut out in Carrara, Italy, right?
Shipped it over here,
sanded it, and then some artisan put this up here. Yeah. Like, there is a cost to anything you build, right? So, and I think that's what's great about Elon. Elon, with Tesla, he's like, I didn't start Tesla out of a green movement. He's like, he has an existential concern about how much oil and gas reserves are left in the world.
Right.
He's like, we need alternative forms of energy. And that's a big debate among earth scientists. Like, is there a finite amount of oil and gas?
Well,
or
finding more,
is it always...
Peak, yeah.
And then you read guys like, what was that book, How Innovation Works? Great book. Where he talks about innovation. The way innovation and technology works is people are brilliant enough to figure out when supplies or become constrained or a problem is becoming so hard to solve. They create new technologies that allow them to advance past that and create. So Elon's trying to do that. And I think that's a great thing. We need more of an energy mix. But that doesn't mean it's going to necessarily, like, his reasoning is different from like some of the EV arguments, like you got to drive this because it's greener. And to your point, like the footprint's different. Well, if that's important to you, you should really dig in and not just believe a headline.
Yeah.
Like you really need to dig in.
To me, it's exactly right. It's having those conversations and having the realization that there's no, you're not going to produce any energy without having some sort of footprint, or whatever you want to call it. It's energy is all. It all has a footprint.
Also,
all of it.
There's no zero carbon emissions. You're a carbon-based life form.
Take that.
I'm a carbon-based life form.
I thought you were talking geo shit to me. Okay, all right.
You know what I mean? Like we're nerding out here on this stuff, but yeah, do your own research. Right?
Okay.
Dig in.
Do your own research. All right. So we're going to be taking questions from the audience. Do you have any?
Do I get to peek?
You get to peek here. Do you have anything else that you kind of want to bring up? Anything that?
Thanks for having me on. This is awesome. No, I'm just rambling. I am literally rambling.
That's what I do whenever it gets kind of like. I feel like I'm a bad rambler.
You told me you were like 2 hours, 1 hour, half an hour, 45, just whatever.
Just shoot the shit. That's it. All right. So we have Jeff Bernard, Matt Bernard, you met last night, his bro.
Yeah.
I need to connect y'all, by the way. Y'all have some stuff to talk about. What was the Business Breakdown podcast? What was that called?
The Business Breakdown podcast. My First Million.
My First Million.
With Sam Parr and Sean Puri. It's really good. You'll
All
enjoy
right.
it.
That's a great question. We have a William Stanford tuning in. What's up, fellas? Man, it's been a minute. Hope you're doing all right, brother. We got John Rojas. Hola. What's going on? So, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, look, first I want to thank you for coming up and introducing yourself 3 weeks ago on that early morning.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for, just having me. So I was on, actually, I'm not going to say anything.
You can say.
Okay, so I was a guest on the ROX Energy podcast.
Yeah.
We don't know when it's coming out yet, but we're not worried about that.
We're working on it.
We're teasing everyone right now. Then
I wanted to be done with them before Nate. That just didn't happen.
How was the energy at Nate? Did you find it pretty good?
Yeah, like.
Do you usually go to Nate?
Yeah,
Okay.
Like. It's an opportunity for us just to, run into people that are down in Houston. We're trying to get down to Houston a couple times a year,
right.
But just reconnect with people and just hang our flag out again because we're so small. Like, well, everybody's there. Set up the booth, hang out, wander around.
How'd you find the
have some
energy of the
cocktails.
conversations? Were they good?
Yeah, really good.
Good.
It's like you always get asked like, well, are you guys doing deals down there? Like as an operator, are you guys selling deals? I'm like,
right.
We went for 4 or 5 years before I could point to me like we did a deal with this person. But we met them 2 years before. It's one of those things like
relationships.
Like these relationships. You're
Whoa.
building relationships. It's a time to just get down there and learn from other people and see what they're doing and talk about what you're doing and then just have a good time while you're doing it. And hopefully connections come out of it.
And that's the thing. I mean, to me, it's not about like, and I've been pretty vocal about like, just meet people, get out of your bubble. These transactional conversations probably should end.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was an operator's got the drill bit, their mud, their directional, stuff. You might think that bubble's good and strong. Let's say something happens to your job or your company, you can rely on that. But you saw the downturn. What if those 3 people aren't there anymore?
Right.
Your table's now wobbly. So, and I dig that, the fact that through chance conversations, chance encounters and all that stuff, nothing might materialize ever. Something might materialize in 3 years,
right.
2 years. You just never know. So it's never bad to get out there and meet people, whether it's about business, whether it's personal. Just say hello to someone.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
I'm
exactly.
a huge advocate on that. So.
I think it's good.
All right. So Jeff goes, nice, cool, thank you. And Jeff, you and I got a contact. You and I have to get in touch about that metaverse podcast we're talking about.
Hey, one of the on that of your idea that you were expounding on about just getting out there and meeting people, that FarmCon thing I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like literally, Sean was like, the guy in there was like, dude, go to conferences that are not in your industry.
Interesting.
Get out of your. He's like, I went to this thing. He's like, there's farmers everywhere, right? Like boots, cowboy hats. And he's like, these are the most sophisticated investors I've ever met. He's like, I've got all these technology founder friends. He's like, they have no idea, like, the trades these guys are doing, the puts and places, like, their options, he's like, I don't know. I mean, he was like, I'm just blown away. Everyone I talked to. It's
like just
guys
like
in the
different
hall,
level.
like the guy on the stage, he's like blowing my mind. And I talked to this guy, he's like, yeah, our family's farm. We've had it for however long, 100 years, and we're doing this. He's like, do you really do? Yeah, we got to do this to survive. It's like, dude, these guys are awesome.
I'm telling you, it's a pretty. I like that going to other. The closest thing
getting out of your comfort zone.
Closest thing I did to that, I was at San Antonio with Arc Energy and Keith and all those guys at Arc Energy, and I went to this midstream conference. I've never been to a midstream conference before, but I mean, yeah, we're kind of the same family, whatever, and all that stuff. But it was kind of eye opening. It was such a cool experience. I met some great people, and it was just kind of a different level, different energy, different style. And I was like, this is kind of refreshing, you know. It's and I always feel that Nate, and you know, F5, AED F5, or those are the two canaries in the cave about how the oil field's doing. Yeah. You know, if attendance is down at F5, you know it's a bad year. NAPE is depressing, you know it's a bad year and all that stuff. So I really did kind of.
Dude, that comes from like on NAPE again, like our perspective, like all the big companies' booths were sized down, they weren't as lavish. Yeah. And that's showing through like what's going on. But as far as like connections, I mean, I think that's what you're getting at. Like there's a shift and everyone knows it, and you can see it on some of those visual cues. But it was good, especially with everything being virtual and shut down like the year before. Like I think there was a good energy on like getting back down.
You know what's interesting though? I would agree to disagree, but that's okay. No. We can. I kind of feel like all these conferences coming back, all this come back. NAPE's different. NAPE was definitely back. You know what I mean? But I kind of feel all these conferences, like the belief is like, oh, everyone's been locked up for 2 years. Everyone wants to go out. Everyone's looking forward to that. That's not. People have gotten comfortable not going out, not kind of staying in their bubbles, staying in kind of their social networks and all that stuff. And if we're an industry that's really based on relationships, I mean, our industry does not Google. If you need a new drill bit and all that stuff, you're not going to be like, best drill bits for this, for this formation. No, you're going to pick up the phone and call some
SEO marketer is mad at you right now.
Well, you know what? That's fine. I'm here to piss off big tech. But that's the thing though. It's like, we always pride ourselves in relationships and, we're a relationship business and all that stuff. It's like, I feel like we were a relationship industry. And it's kind of gotten laxed over the last 7-8 years on that. So, I mean, whether it's people that have been in the industry, seasoned vets, whether it's the newer generation, all that stuff, it's people have gotten comfortable in their little bubbles. And man, I'm just saying, you got to have more bubbles.
No, yeah. I think that's what, like that point, like go do something out of your comfort zone. Go talk to somebody at one of these conferences that you have no idea what they do. Yeah. Well, and that's some of those relationships, literally. Like I'm just wandering around, like, hey, what do you guys do? And that's and then 5 years later, you're hanging out. You run into each other at one of the bars, and you're like, oh yeah,
I've been doing this. Oh, you might want to get in on it. Like, you just never know. And honestly, it's one of those things too. It's like, I mean, you go back to relationships, kindness, and all that stuff. I mean, there's. I saw some great, and I've told this before. I saw some very smart, very awesome, kind, amazing engineers didn't find work and had to go out. I saw some, not so great, whatever, find work just because of the relationship they have. Right. So to me, it's reply to that email, meet up with someone, say hello to someone, and all that stuff. Yeah. So to me, that's extremely important. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, so it's good.
All right, so we are coming up to an hour and 1 minute. Justin, good seeing you guys. Great show. Thanks, Justin, buddy. Safe travels, amigo. William, your network is your number one asset in oil and gas. Completely agree with that. And that's the whole point of kind of why I got into this, started my own thing. So, Jeff Bernard, let's go. Oh, done. I'm in. We'll hit 95 the other day. That is true. So,
where do you think it's going? What's your prediction?
I think it's definitely going to go way north of 100. I think once I read something about international air travel, once that kind of gets put in the mix and did all that stuff, I think oil, I'm not going to put a price on it, but I think it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be north of 140, 150. Yeah. That's not good. don't get me wrong, high low price, but at the same time, I would love kind of the stable window of 70 to. I'll take 80. I'll take 90. No, I just kind of wanted to coast there, but obviously, with big booms come big busts. So I think it's going to get north. It's going to get there for a while, and it's going to. And I'm hoping of course, we're going to get blamed for that as an industry. We're going to get blamed for that when supply and demand. That's where common knowledge is thrown out the window. Yeah. But hopefully, the reality and expectations when it comes to energy and all that stuff. Hopefully, maybe we'll start having those conversations.
That's what I'm hoping is that there will be people will really dig into and try and learn about where does my energy really come from, and realize the importance of it, and knowing about it and being involved in the production of it.
I mean, I completely agree.
There's no reason you can invest in real estate on your phone, right?
I completely agree. People, the oil companies setting the oil price. I'm pretty sure the oil companies didn't set negative $37 on April 20th. You know what I mean? So it's and it shows conversation. But anyway, I think it's going to go north of 100 easily.
It's going 150 plus.
150 plus. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can see that. I can see it staying there for a little bit too. And then that's one of those things. I mean, are we going to have memories of a goldfish? We're going to forget kind of how we got in this predicament in the first place. Yeah. So hopefully we take kind of what we learned over the past 2 years, be about cash conscious and all that stuff, not just growing to grow and producing to grow. Hopefully we'll learn some lessons, but we'll see. Yeah. I think we have
we'll see. I mean, that's how we've always operated, but
we're different.
It's different.
Different.
You got to.
Different.
But yeah, I agree. Hopefully I think there's a lot of uncertainty on all that, but at the same time, maybe it's just because I'm an optimistic guy. I'm seeing a lot of the positive potential, and I'm hoping a lot of that comes to fruition.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, also the big deal is now. I mean, you're talking about people being the issue, and it's you just can't throw money at it anymore. Let's just offer more and more, because kind of people, first off, they're viewing our industry as not an attractive place to work. They're viewing it as very cyclical. Even if you're not even in the industry yet, they see it as being cyclical. Mm-hmm. Oh, what was that, 95 today? 2 years ago, it was negative 37. That's not for me.
Right.
They want to be home with their families and all that stuff. So it's whether I feel like there's all these hurdles. You know what I mean? There's the capital hurdle. There's the people hurdle. There's this. So if we did want to ramp up to the place we want to ramp up at, I don't think we can.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting 2 years.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's what I was talking about. We were talking about last night, the hard thing on rigs. All of that is encompassed right in that. But we won't ramble on that.
Jonathan Rhodes kind of mimicking what I just said. Our industry has total control of price when over $100, but not at negative 37. Could not agree more with that. Cannot agree with more of that. But I want to thank everyone. First off, thank you. Yeah. I want to thank everyone for tuning in right now. Y'all need to head to lunch and all that stuff. Be sure to check out Energy Crew Podcast. If you're an operator and you kind of want to just get on and kind of shoot the bull, reach out to me at jp@connectioncrew.com. If you're a service company or a tech company or a startup or whatever, you just kind of want to showcase your service or product or who you are, reach out to me, that same email address. And I guess I'm looking forward to I'll see all my friends in Midland next week. And then I've got the Thrive Energy Conference on Wednesday. And then are you going to that? Thrive Energy again, but okay. And then we got Rodeo Cook-Off. Last time we had Rodeo Cook-Off, we shut down the whole world for 2 years. So let's kind of let's not do that again. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in, listening to us kind of ramble and talk. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, man.
Everyone have a great rest of the week. Stay warm and try to engage some healthy energy conversations.
Yeah.
Not debates.
Conversations,
not debates. Right? Yeah. I dig it. All right, everyone.
Thanks,
we'll talk to y'all soon. And